Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but we want to give a shout out to our partners, the Florida Coaches Coalition, Vital Signs Wall of Fame, We Coach, and the Global Community of Women in High School Sports. These are four great organizations. You should really add them to your network. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. Stay with us for the next 3 minutes as we give our sponsors their shout out. These are all great companies that I used as an athletic director or as a coach. You should be using them too. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association management platform for us. It's also your one-stop platform for scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, state association connections, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just fantastic, and you'll love it too. To find out more about what Home Campus can do for you, all you got to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. Check them out today. We also want to say thank you to Snap Mobile. Go to snapraise.com and check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. If you're looking for a fundraising platform, stop right here. SnapRaise is hands down the best you can find. But there's so much more. You got Snap Store, Snap Manage, Snap Connect. You'll find it all at snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing. Simple and easy online ticketing. Go to hometownticketing.com. They offer digital ticketing with more support, more security, more customization. Hometown Ticketing is here to make the best solution for you. Go to hometownticketing.com to get started. We also want to thank our good friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Start creating world-class marketing content for your school's social media channel. You can do it in seconds on any device, and you really don't need any design training. It's so easy, even I can do it. Start celebrating your athletes, promote your programs. You'll find it all at Gipper.com. We also want to say thanks to Huddle. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. As an athletic director, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that let them coach our kids at their highest level. It was a professional grade solution to the challenges that we all face. At Huddle, we believe in sports, and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to showcase your school's record boards, your school's Hall of Fame, or just tell more compelling stories about your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. You'll find it all at sidelineinteractive.com, at vitalsignswalloffame.com. Speaking of Sideline Interactive, go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their indoor scoring tables and video boards. You can also schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. One of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to check out all the things that they can do for you and your program. That's sidelineinteractive.com. And we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic surveys are a quick, easy, and an affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic directors already hear from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic surveys will connect you with the 2%, but they'll also connect you with the 98% that supports your program. So go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to show you how they can create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. That's athleticsurveys.com. Make sure you visit their website today. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to one of our favorite states today, North Carolina, and we're going to be visiting with Yvette Williams. Yvette is a certified athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics at Rolsville High School, and that's in the Wake County school system in North Carolina. Yvette and I connected, and I thought she'd be a great guest for the podcast, so here we are. Yvette Williams, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a busy time. We're recording this on August 18th. So many of you have already started, fall practices. Some of you probably have a football game tonight since it's a Friday night. And I know a few schools haven't even started classes yet, but let's go and jump right in. Yvette, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up, maybe take us up through your own high school and college days, and then we'll take our first break. But what's the Yvette Williams origin story?
I was born in Harrisonburg, Virginia, um, and my family adopted me. And then we lived in Seattle, Washington. We've lived in Massachusetts, but most of my childhood was spent in California, where I went to William S. Hart High School and played basketball, ran some cross country, and ran some track. Then went to Biola University and played basketball there. And after that, I worked a variety of jobs in California and then ended up in North Carolina.
Well, let's go back to those high school days, moving around a lot. You mentioned Seattle. I'm born and raised in Oregon, but went to high school across the river, outside of Vancouver, Washington. So I know the Northwest. How was that moving around from school to school? You were probably the new kid a couple of times. Any memories stick out for you from those days?
Well, I still, with the help of social media, uh, I can reminisce with some of my friends that I made along the way. So most of that time, though, was in Massachusetts. Like we were there for 9 years. And then California, I was there from the time I was 10 until I was 20, in my 20s.
Okay. Also, you talked a little bit about your athletic career. I'm sure you're being very modest. Okay. Um, as those of us that are athletic directors now, there's moments in our life that tend to stick with us. So thinking back to your own playing days, either in high school or in college, anything stick out for you that maybe at the time you didn't realize what it was, but now looking back as an athletic director, you can say, hey, that really helped shape me. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but anything stick out?
Well, I was fortunate to go to a high school where being a student athlete was a privilege, a true privilege. We had coaches and administrators that really cared about us. And, from early on, you knew that if you wanted to continue your playing career, it wasn't if, it was where. And when you have that mindset, then everybody gets equal treatment, everybody appears seen, and can have a really good experience. And so for me, I thought that was just how it was done until I got into coaching myself and saw that that's not how everybody shaped athletics. And so that kind of was an aha moment and let me know that I want to provide that same type of experience for the student athletes that I work with.
No, absolutely. And you hit on such a great point that athletics, even today, it is a privilege. It's not like, say, community or club travel, et cetera. There's some requirements to participate on that team. Very, very, very good point. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Yvette Williams. She's a certified athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics at Rolsville High School in North Carolina. We're going to take our first break, but we're coming back with some more, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Home Campus for their support of the Educational AD Podcast. Home Campus is the exclusive high school and state association information platform for us. It's also your one-stop platform for things like scheduling, student athlete eligibility and clearance, coaches clearance, and a whole lot more. As an athletic director, I used Home Campus every single day, and it was just great. And the Home Campus team is great to work with too. To find out more about how Home Campus can help you and your program, all you have to do is go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. Make sure you visit them today. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Yvette, you took us up kind of through your college days. You can share a little bit more about that if you'd like to, but also take us on that journey post-college, some of the teaching and coaching jobs that you had that led to your present position at Rolsville.
After I got done with college, I think I had my first JV coaching job at Cerritos High School in California, where I was a JV coach. And I think I was about 21, 22. And that was really one of the best teams I ever coached. I had a group of girls who were very smart, and, I didn't really have to repeat myself a whole lot, but I did have to break down things and show them how to do it. Then I left there and went back to my alma mater, William S. Hart High, where I was able to work alongside my former coach, Coach Dave Monroe. And I was there for 3 years. We were pretty successful, and I became a better coach because then I got an opportunity to learn more of the whys, and not just we need to win. I needed to learn how to better develop players. And so after that, I left and went and was an assistant coach at Chaffey College as a junior college, community college in Rancho Cucamonga. And yes, that's an actual place. People tend to think that's not a real place. But I was there. And then during that year, my grandma, my dad's mom, my dad is from North Carolina. She had, I think, 2 strokes, and I came to visit. And she asked me if I would move out here because she'd like to see me every day. So, when your grandma asks you something like that, the answer is always yes. And it's mostly because I am the favorite grandchild. So I packed up my stuff and moved to North Carolina. When I got here, I started teaching and coaching. I did some middle school basketball for a while. I also did some AAU. And then I wanted to make a jump to the high school level again. So moved school districts and ended up at Southern Wayne High School in Wayne County. And while I was there, I coached a variety of sports, but I always in the back of my mind wanted to be an athletic director. So I started at that time to figure out, how could I get where I wanted to be? Because when you talk to athletic directors, everyone's path is different. So I started to continue to ask questions, got my master's degree, and started looking for some professional development that could help me. And it was during that time I met some really influential people who kind of pointed me in the right direction. During that time I met Bob Hill, and so actually at a PE conference. And so I went into one of his sessions and he was asking questions and I was answering these questions. And afterwards I stayed to speak to him and he asked me if I was an AD. And I said, no, sir, I'm not, but I'd like to be. So that kind of opened another door for me. After that, I was a coordinator for PE and health at the district level. And administration knew that I had AD aspirations. And so they sent me to some athletic director workshops and things to help me get to where I wanted to be.
Again, I was just trying to write some notes so I can keep my thoughts straight. Want to go back real quick. You mentioned that you were assistant coach for your former coach.
Yes,
And I think that's an experience that I don't think there's anything else like it, because now, they look at you initially, okay, you're a player, but there was something in you as a player that they thought could come back and help that next generation. And that doesn't happen with everybody, because you had a lot of teammates that he didn't ask to come back and be a coach. How was that working with your former head coach?
Well, it gave me some insight into why we had to do things the way we did when I was a player. And then, when the student athletes would ask me, why do we have to do this? It gave me an opportunity to share, not just from a leadership perspective, but also from having actually been in their shoes. And so there was a different level of respect there. And I think it ended up being a way for them to understand that they were being seen. They had agency because they knew, okay, I can go talk to Coach Williams and she can help me out. She can, I don't understand and maybe I don't feel comfortable asking Coach Monroe, but I can ask Coach Williams.
No, absolutely. And as a head coach yourself later on, you probably had assistants in that same role. And it's just so important for that team chemistry. Great stuff. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay. Um, we're going to talk about, the state association later on, but making that move from coach to athletic director, what I call coming to the other side of the desk. Um, any apprehensions, any nervousness, or did you feel, not in a cocky way, but did you feel, hey, I've got this?
I think anytime you embark on a new journey, you have to have a certain level of nervousness. It's good energy. It's good nervousness because it is the unknown. No matter how much you think there's always a slew of information that you still have yet to learn. And so, one thing that was helpful for me, it may not seem like it, but I was in North Carolina and I left here to take a position at Hampton High School in Hampton, Virginia. And so, when I went there, I didn't know anyone there. So everything was brand new. So in that respect, I was prepared for everything that was going to be new for me. So that just kind of leveled the playing field a little bit, because otherwise, you can get cocky thinking, oh, I know so and so and so and so here. I knew no one. And so I had to make those connections and make those relationships from ground zero.
And that's always an interesting component, coming in. Not so much there's a new sheriff in town, but you are the athletic director. You're their boss, and so beginning to build those relationships, foundational part of any athletic director's job. For our listeners, our guest today is Yvette Williams, and she's the director of athletics at Rolsville High School. That's in Wake County, North Carolina. Also a certified athletic administrator. We're going to hear more about that in just a moment. Let's go and take another quick break, but please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our friends at Snap Mobile for their support. Go to snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. Check out their entire suite of platforms designed to help you do your job better. If you're looking for a fundraising platform, stop right here. SnapRaise is hands down the best available. We used it at our school with great success, and so can you. They even have a program where they will give you your funding before you actually start your fundraiser. Nobody else does that. But there's so much more. You've got Snap Connect, Snap Store, Snap Manage. You'll find them all at snapraise.com. That's snapraise.com. We also want to say thank you to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. Go to hometownticketing.com. Their team is going to show you how to set up and sell tickets for your events, not just athletic events, but things like school plays, concerts, school dances, even graduation. And here's the best part. Every school is assigned a dedicated client success manager that's going to provide hands-on support every step of the way. That's every step of the way. Go to hometownticketing.com. It's digital ticketing that offers more. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Yvette, we get a lot of young and new athletic directors that listen to the podcast, and some old ones like me too. And I think it's important for them to hear about the journey that we all take with our state association and with the NIAAA. So talk a little bit about that. How'd you first get involved with your association in North Carolina, and talk a little bit about your NIAAA experience too.
Well, my first experience, I first heard about the state association for being a coach. And then when I met Bob Hill, he encouraged me to get involved and to try to figure out, what type of leader I want to be and how that can translate into getting into state association and being a leader. And so as I was looking at that, first I was said, I need to become an athletic director. So let me get that under my belt first. And so I took that job in Hampton, and they sent me to, they have a new athletic directors conference in Virginia that I was privileged enough to attend. And while there, they had us take the first two of the leadership, the LTI courses. And so we took those while we were there, and they were taught to us by ADs in our state. They also set us up with a mentor. And so they allowed you, though, even though you're supposed to have one, they allowed you to choose who your mentor would be. So I chose two. And so I chose Shay Collins, and I think you know her as well. And then I chose Mike Whittington. And I chose them for two reasons. Mike is a guru when it comes to social media and fundraising. And I chose Shay because I felt like I needed to hear another female's journey. And I felt that geographically, she was located not too far from my school. So I felt that I could learn a lot from her. So the two of them were very integral in that. And they were both on our state association, our VIAAA executive board. So I asked the president at the time, how does one get on the executive board? And so he said, well, wait till there's an opportunity, and then, you throw your name in the hat and see what happens. So they decided to create a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And so I asked to be a part of that. So I became the vice chair. Now, during that time, I finished my RAA, and then I took those additional classes to switch over from the registered athletic administrator to the certified athletic administrator.
Yeah, and again, we talk about the importance of those LTI courses, and they're all great courses. They stand on their own, but they're also stepping stones for certification. Looking back, I know I'm putting you on the spot again. What, which courses or which components of a particular course really resonated with you at the time? As you're taking those 4-hour courses, you just had that moment, wow, I really need to take this back to my school. Any of those moments stick out?
I think the one that was that speaks to that was I think it was the law one, the legal. I think it was the one that's in the CAA umbrella, because I took it at a conference after I got my RIA, I believe. And so just knowing, as we were looking at the case studies, for reasons why there were litigation in athletics, some of them are things that you would overlook if you didn't have that lens to look through, the athletic director lens to look through. And so now, as I'm walking around on, a field, if I'm in a gym, if I'm in a weight room, I look through that lens of, is this something where somebody could get hurt? Is this something where, that's avoidable? Is this, I don't want our school or myself to get sued. So, I think that those types of classes let you kind of see with a different lens so that you can be prepared for what could happen.
Yeah, those legal courses are always yeah, eye openers. And you mentioned the case studies, that book where you're looking at, and some of them you go, seriously, the coaches did this. Are you crazy? But as athletic directors, we got to make sure we're doing our job of coaching the coaches and coaching ourselves. So we don't have too many of those crazy moments at our campus too. Being a member of the certification committee for so many years, one of my annual jobs was to help, revise and improve the exam. So I got to ask you the question: when you were sitting for the CAA exam, were there any questions? And I know this was a while back, but were there any questions that you went, seriously? They're asking me this question? Okay.
No, I think that, anytime you take a multiple choice test, you already know right off gate that there's one of the answers that it couldn't be. And then you looking at, oh, it's not going to be these. And then there are two that it could be. And so for a lot of the questions, I think that you guys did a great job, because a lot of the questions, if you weren't really dialed in, you could have made a wrong choice, because there are two answers that it could be. And so I think that the test was fine. Everybody had test anxiety that morning, but I think everyone in my testing session passed. So because we had reviewed the night before, so yeah, I think the test was fine.
Okay, well, that makes me feel even better. Okay, now I got to ask you again. I wouldn't be doing my job. Where are you at in your journey to get that next step, that CMAA?
So I started taking some more classes, and so I hope to be done with the class portion of it here within the next couple of months, and then to move on to either the project or just to move on to the project part, to complete the CMAA.
Right. And for any of our listeners, if you are waiting to do that CMAA or it's years in your future, don't be intimidated by that word project. Okay. I guarantee that you're doing something right now at your school with students, with coaches, with parents, with facilities. You're doing something right now that would make a great CMAA project. And with it's not so much new anymore, it's been around for a few years, but with the oral option for presenting your project, basically you're just going to tell the story of the project in your school through a PowerPoint or other social media platform. It's extremely, I don't want to say not easy, but it's not difficult. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your state coordinator in your state. Every state has one. Or feel free to reach out to me at jakestouchdown@gmail.com. Be more than happy to help you with that CMAA project. So, Yvette, you're going to reach out to me, right?
Of course.
Okay, there we go. Well, let's go and take another quick break. We're listening to Yvette Williams, a certified athletic administrator. She's the athletic director at Rolsville High School, and that's in Wake County, North Carolina. Let's take that break, but we're coming back. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thank you to Gipper for their support of the podcast. Gipper is the social media graphics solution for the Educational AD Podcast. And if you go to Gipper.com, their team is going to help you create professional level social media graphics for your website. And it's so easy, even I can do it. Start celebrating your athletes and promoting your teams. Use Gipper. It's used by over 3,000 high school and college athletic programs across the country, and it's professional graphic design made simple. Go to Gipper.com and mention the podcast. You'll get a nice discount. That's Gipper.com. We also want to thank Huddle for their support. Go to Huddle.com and change the way you see the game. When I was a football coach, I used Huddle and it was fantastic. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided that helped them coach our kids up to their highest level. It was a professional grade solution for the challenges that we all face. At Huddle, we believe in sports and teams believe in Huddle. Join the 8 million users and find out how to turn your school into a Huddle school. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Yvette, one of the things that we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I know I've already done it a couple of times, but I'm going to put you on the spot again. What are some things that you do at Rolsville that you're particularly proud of? Or again, it's your first year at Rolsville. Maybe these are things that you did in another school that you plan on rolling out. So what are some best practices you can share with our listeners?
Well, one of the things that I am rolling out here is we're starting an student athlete athletic honor society. And so I want to showcase the fact that our student athletes do put the student first. And so that's something new that they haven't had at Roseville. Um, we're also starting a student advisory athletic committee. And so it'll allow the student athletes to have agency and get together and talk about things that are happening within their respective sports and kind of share out, because a lot of times the student athletes don't talk to each other. And then also I'll be the advisor for both of these. And so they'll also have an opportunity to represent their sport and share some things with me that maybe they wouldn't normally get a chance to. Both groups will be doing community service. I think that being involved in the community says a lot about us as a school and lets people know that we care about more than just what happens on the field or on the court. So I think that that's important.
I love the idea about getting the student athletes together, so they can talk about anything they want to. What a great idea! I don't think enough athletic programs do that. It's more about delivering their content than letting them, provide some of that content. Again, I've already mentioned this is your first year at Rolsville. Looking ahead, I think ADs are usually embody, we're happy where we're at, but let's not be satisfied. Let's try to get better. What are some things that you're looking at in this first year? I'm sure you've already talked to some of the coaches about it, that you're looking to get better at and build on for the coming years. Anything you can share with us?
Well, I think that, in terms of Rolsville High School, there are some great pieces in place. We have some great coaches here. The administration is very supportive of the student athletes and myself. Our booster club is fantastic. They're everywhere. Right now, we're a little smaller than I think they'd like for us to be, but there's, strength in our small numbers. And so, as we continue to get the word out about the positive things we're doing, our hope is that those numbers will rise. Additionally, I'm trying to get some more community support. Our school is only 10 years old, and so our community is continuing to grow. And I think it would be great if we could get more to increase those attendance numbers, and also change the narrative surrounding student athletes. And so those are some things that I would like to do. And although there may be lofty goals, you got to start somewhere.
No, and again, you bring up a good point. You're looking ahead, but at the same time, you're not coming in here and like a whirlwind and trying to change everything. I think that's a mistake that some athletic directors do coming in, taking over a new job. Is where you want to go, but you also got to realize it's going to take a little bit of time to get there. So good stuff. It's going to be interesting to come by and visit you, in a year and see where the program has, how the program has grown. Good stuff. For listeners, once again, our guest today is Yvette Williams, certified athletic administrator at Rolsville High School in North Carolina. Let's take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we'll be back with some more. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. You know, they're on a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to showcase all of your school record boards, your school's Hall of Fame, and also tell about your school's diverse history and your proudest moments. If you mention the podcast, guess what? They'll give you a nice discount. That's vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thank you to Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo and see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we used it for home games, but we also used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Welcome back, everyone, to the Educational AD Podcast. Yvette, one of the questions that we've asked our guests pretty much since the podcast started a little over 3 years ago has to do with this idea of social awareness. And I realize that's a very big umbrella, but how can an athletic director do a better job of being socially aware and socially responsible for their community? Do you have any advice for us?
Well, I think one of the things, you have to know your community. Like I'm a transplant here. So that's why one of the reasons why I started to go out in the community to meet people, because the community is representative of my school community. And so it makes it easier to connect with my kids and my community if I know what's going on. Also, you have to be in education, you have to be a lifelong learner. And so that's why the LTI courses are important. That's why it's also important to be involved in your state organizations and to make sure that, you sign up for newsletters, anything that can give you some additional insight into areas where you might, fall short, or where you feel that you need a pick me up, or, some additional information. I know that I don't know everything. And so I'm an avid reader, and a listener. So if I find a podcast, I'll multitask while I'm doing something and listen. Uh, but I do think that if you want to be socially aware, you want to be able to help your student athletes the best way that you can, and not just your student athletes, but the other students inside of your school, because when you're an athletic director, you're highly visible. And so I've had great conversations with kids that never played a sport for me a day in their life. And some of these students have had a great impact on me. And so, knowing the role that you play, the high visibility that you have, and kind of what you can help, because let's face it, there are not a lot of females in athletic administration. And so, how people view me, their experiences with me may shape how they view female athletic administrators down the line or initially. And knowing that not only am I a woman in a male dominated field, but I'm also a woman of color. And so that plays a role as well. And, I have an opportunity to show people that women of color and women can do this job and can do it well. So my hope is that anybody who is trying to increase their social awareness will just really try to educate themselves on different aspects of it, whether it's transgender student athletes, whether it's dealing with students with different socioeconomic statuses. Are you a Title I school? What does that mean for your students? What does that mean for your student athletes? You got to do a little bit of research. Where do your students come from? In terms of the area that surrounds your school, because you'd be surprised at how far some of your students have to travel to get to you every day. And, those are things that can affect their performance and just how their lives are going. So there's a lot of things that go into what may be happening with our kids, and so I think that just continuing to learn and be aware and have those crucial conversations with students, their parents, and other coworkers.
Yeah, you hit on so many important points there. I'm just going to start with the last one is getting out of your office, getting out away from behind that desk and, having those conversations with kids, with parents, teachers, et cetera. And that you mentioned previously, building the relationships, getting to know people. The job of the AD has become so much more complex in recent years, but you're absolutely right. Building those relationships it takes time, and it takes some genuine, being genuine and some effort on your part. But the dividends it pays, not just for your program, but in the lives of the kids and the coaches and the parents and the people you meet. Absolutely. Thanks, God. Thanks so much for sharing that. Very cool. This has been a really fun interview, and I've got a ton more questions, but it's that time. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, this is your first year at Rolsville, but you're not new to the world of athletics. So we're going to take our final break. We're going to hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things in the toolbox. So let's take that final break. And when we come back, we're going to see what Yvette Williams is going to put into her new athletic director toolbox. So please stay with us. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys, they're a quick, easy, and an affordable way for you to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your entire program. Athletic directors already hear back from the complainers, the 2% that want to gripe about everything. Athletic Surveys connects you with the 2%, but they also connect you with the 98% that love your program. And that's a tremendously valuable tool to have when you're talking with a frustrated parent or a principal or a student athlete. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to show you how they can create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of your parents and your student athletes. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them show you how to take your athletic program from good to great. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Yvette Williams, a certified athletic administrator, knows her way around the world of athletics. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new AD, but I'm only going to let her put 3 things in that toolbox. So, Yvette, what 3 items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
All right, Jake. I got 4.
Okay, we'll take them.
Work? Okay. All right. So the first one is leadership. And, not just the ability to lead, but to also be led. Because that's part of it. And the next one will be intentional communication. Because we communicate every day, but for you to be a good athletic director, you have to be intentional about what you're putting out there. And so that's why that's in there. And then building relationships, from the previous segments, I talked about it quite a bit. And I do believe that to be successful, you're going to have to be able to forge those relationships. And then the last one is time management / organization. And, you have to wear many hats and juggle many things. And for me, this is an ongoing thing. I am not the best at it, but I continue to grow and I continue to work at it. So I have an old school planner because I have to write things down. My phone is not enough because if my phone goes dead, what's going to happen? So I need to have it written down somewhere. I need a paper copy. And yeah, so those are the four things that I think that a new AD would need to be successful.
Well, I love them all. And, as a old school planner guy myself, you and I are eye to eye on that one. Um, I love the term that you used, intentional communication, just for yourself as well as the individuals and the groups that you're talking with, great, great tool. We should have done this earlier, so shame on me. But if one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you do things at your program, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
Oh, they can shoot me an email. My work email, because I'm always here, is ywilliams3@wcpss.net.
Okay. And again, our guest has been Yvette Williams from Rolsville High School, and that's in Wake County School District in North Carolina. Yvette, thanks so much for sharing with us on a Friday afternoon, and all the best with your coming season and the school year.
Thank you so much for having me here, Jake. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it was great. We're gonna have to do this again. For listeners, we do this just about every day, and we upload the Zoom recordings to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Of course, we appreciate you listening. Come back next time for another great interview, and just about every day for new content on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.